So, some thoughts about Epiphany. Not the usual kind of wound in together, carefully threaded sermon, but some summer holiday reflections. Today we celebrate Epiphany, the arrival of the Magi, and the sharing of the gospel with the world. Matthew gives us the story of the Magi following the star from the east to Jerusalem, an interview with Herod, and on to Bethlehem, to a house where they found Jesus and Mary. So first things first, not the cliches, please. Our culturally ingrained sentimental pictures of the Christmas story are quite different to the story Matthew gives us. He doesn't describe three magi. We always think of the three kings. He just describes three gifts, so we've extrapolated out from that. And he doesn't describe the three magi as being of different ethnicities. He doesn't have them arriving at the same time as the shepherds. They can't have. It would have taken them a long time to journey from the east to Jerusalem and on to Bethlehem. And we also know this because Herod orders that all males under the age of 2 be killed, not just tiny infants of just a few weeks or a month. So they can't have arrived at the same time as the shepherds. So let's turn away from the cliches and let's see what might be revealed as I pull on some threads in the story. So we could think first about Epiphany as manifestation. That's the meaning of the Greek word, epiphania, which is where we get epiphany from. So Epiphany commemorates the visit of the Magi from the east and the manifestation of the baby Jesus to the world. And as the Magi were Gentiles, it commemorates the manifestation of Jesus, the Messiah, not only to Israel, but to all the world, to all of us. Manifestation is about something being revealed, becoming visible and present, evident to us. We might think of epiphanies as moments when something becomes blindingly clear and is fully revealed to us. But I think that they're often progressive, ongoing, and their meaning becomes apparent gradually. I have a picture of the divine becoming manifest to us piece by piece in glimpses of the ongoing revelation of the Word made flesh in our lives. In those moments when an important truth becomes clear and finds its seat within us, and we see ourselves, we see others, we see our world in a different way. We reinterpret our stories and rethink our way forward. We see something and it leads us to seeing something else, and we slowly form the connections. Like the Magi following the star. They didn't know where they were going. They were following a star to a destination unknown. It took time to get there. All was not revealed immediately. And then we could also think about journeying, the model the Magi give us of moving forward, even though they didn't know where they were going. Their tenacity, the questions they must have carried with them. Their journey speaks to spiritual hunger. That restlessness and longing that led them to follow the star is ours too. We know that hunger. We're never quite there. Our understanding is always incomplete. The narrative of the Magi also urges us to reimagine our faith as an inclusive, expansive journey, one that celebrates diversity and honours the sacredness in everyone. The Magi weren't Jews. They weren't part of the club. They were Gentiles, but God was revealed to them and so to us. Everyone's journey, everyone's way of knowing God, everyone's way of being in the world is different, but everyone is invited in. And God called the Gentile Magi to show us that the riches of heaven are available to all. Another thread. This gospel speaks to us about insight and wisdom, the ability to see and know truth in the same way the Magi did. When they saw Jesus, they recognized him for what he was. They also saw Herod for what he was. They appreciated the full significance of what they were involved in. And throughout the Gospels, there are moments in which Jesus is recognized in this way. The Epiphany is just the first of them. Peter recognizes Jesus as the Christ, the Son of God. The Samaritan woman at the well recognizes Jesus as the Messiah. The blind man healed by Jesus recognizes him as a prophet from God. Moment by moment, God is revealing herself and her love to us. And it's for us to recognize that God, to see deeper, to embrace more of God's love, and to be overwhelmed with joy in the same way as the Magi. Then there's the thread about light. Light in the sense of illumination. The Magi are following a star. It lights and guides their journey to Jesus in the same way that God provides light and guidance for our journey. God's light breaks through the darkness and allows us to see, to know ourselves and our world, to recognize. And drawing on from that light, we can see God's extravagant generosity and reach. And manifesting on earth in Jesus, God reached out beyond Israel to the east, beyond the Israelites to the Gentile Magi, foreshadowing the comprehensiveness of the coming kingdom Jesus would proclaim. From a manger where a baby lay, God's reach through Jesus extends further and further. He eats with outcasts and sinners. He touches people who are sick and people who live with disabilities. He calls the dead back to life. God seems to do whatever it takes to reach out and embrace all people, to reach out and embrace us, drawing us all in. None of us are beyond God's embrace. Epiphany tells us about that generosity, God's radical grace towards us, including us all, taking on our humanity, embracing our vulnerability. It invites us into that generosity, and it also demands that we mirror it, that we extend it outwards, beyond ourselves. Epiphany is also about reversals, a turning upside down of the expected order of things. We could think about how God chose to manifest herself in the world in the form of a baby, born of an unmarried mother, in a humble setting, not in a thunderclap or a lightning bolt, not full of might and majesty. The outsiders are invited in, they see, they recognize. Jesus doesn't look like the Messiah the Israelites were expecting, arriving as a vulnerable baby to a humble family. The Magi who arrived with gifts to worship him were not Jews. They were unlikely finders of the truth, outsiders, and they find an unlikely king. And this is just the beginning. Just about everything Jesus says or does involves a reversal of the usual order of things. And these divine reversals encourage us to reevaluate our perspectives and prejudices, to embrace humility, and to recognize the sacred in unexpected places and people. They challenge us to question our assumptions about power, privilege, and righteousness. They emphasize strength and weakness. Jesus, the baby in Mary's arms, holds all God's strength and wonder. The Magi see this. They are overwhelmed with joy. Contrast this with Herod, the chief priests and scribes, whose worldly power led them only to fear and cruelty. And finally, but most importantly, there's joy. let's finish with joy. Epiphany is deeply entwined with the theme of joy. It marks the recognition of the divine presence breaking into the world in human form, a moment of revelation that brings immense joy and hope to humanity. The story of the Magi is suffused with joy. Imagine the wonder and excitement they experienced as they followed the celestial sign, anticipating the discovery of the prophesied king. Their joy was profound and transformative. And when we find that joy, it transforms us as well. It's our joy as well. We are part of this huge and transforming story of God's love for the world. So I've pulled on some threads and begun to explore them with you, hoping that you can take them away with you and allow them to sink into you. And like the Magi, to be led by the light and to be led by the joy. Amen.